All right, today we're going somewhere most of us never get to see, behind those swinging doors. We're going to explore one of the most protected, most meticulously controlled places on the entire planet, the modern operating theater.
I mean, think about it. It's a place where miracles happen, where lives are saved every single second. But have you ever really stopped to wonder what makes it all possible? What's the invisible science, the incredible engineering that turns this room into a literal fortress against infection? Well, that's what we're going to find out.
Okay, so the one word you have to understand is sterilization. And listen, this is not the same as just being clean. We're talking about the complete and total elimination of every single microorganism. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, you name it. Why? Because the whole goal is to prevent surgical site infections. And when someone's on that table, the stakes, they just couldn't be any higher.
You know, it's easy to take this for granted, but it wasn't always like this. Not even close. For centuries, surgery was, well, it was a terrifying gamble. Getting to where we are today has been this long, hard-fought battle against an enemy we couldn't even see.
And like any great battle, this one had its heroes. You can go way, way back to 500 AD to the father of Indian surgery, Acharya Sushruta, who was already talking about cleaning and fumigation. But the real game changers, they came much later. We've got Joseph Lister, the father of modern surgery, who introduced antiseptic principles in the 1800s. And then you have Robert Koch, bringing in these powerful chemical disinfectants. Every one of these breakthroughs was just a massive leap forward for patient safety.
So how do we get from those early ideas to the high-tech operating theaters we have today? Well, the modern battle for sterility, it actually starts before a surgeon even picks up a scalpel. The very first line of defense is the architecture, the physical layout of the building itself. It's designed from the ground up to be a sterile fortress. And you should literally think of it like a medieval castle with multiple layers of defense. That outermost wall, that's what we call the protective zone. This is where staff change out of their street clothes and into scrubs, where the paperwork happens. Its whole job is to be the first major barrier, stopping contaminants from the outside world right at the gate.
Okay, so once you're past that first gate, you enter the next layer, the clean zone. This area is a super important buffer. It's where sterile equipment is stored, where maintenance takes place. It's like the castle's inner courtyard, the final checkpoint that keeps the most sacred area, the sterile core, from ever being directly exposed to the less clean outer zone.
And then, finally, we reached the heart of the fortress, the aseptic zone. This is the inner sanctum. It's the operating room itself and the scrub area right next to it. Inside this zone, everything, and I mean everything, is focused on one single goal: maintaining a perfectly sterile environment for the patient. But a fortress isn't just about keeping things out, right? You also need a secure way to get things out. That's where the disposal zone comes in. This is the highly controlled area where all biomedical waste is handled, making absolutely sure that nothing contaminated can ever get out and spread infection.
So we've got the layout, the zones, but it goes deeper than that. The very walls, the floors, the ceiling, they're all part of the defense system. Let's dive into the aseptic zone and look at the technology that's literally built right into the room to keep it sterile.
A lot of modern operating theaters are what we call modular. What does that mean? Basically, they're built in a factory from big, pre-made parts. The genius of this is that you get these incredibly smooth surfaces with almost no joints or cracks. And why is that a big deal? Simple. Fewer places for nasty microbes to hide. Plus, the materials themselves are designed to fight off moisture and stop bacteria from ever getting a foothold.
So if the layout is the fortress and the walls are the armor, what's the heart? Well, it's something you can't even see. It's the HVAC system. It is, without a doubt, the beating heart of modern OT sterility, constantly pumping in life-giving clean air.
And this thing does way more than just keep the room at a comfortable temperature. Its secret weapon is something called positive pressure. Here's an easy way to think about it. Imagine air is always being pushed out of the operating room. So any dust or germs from the hallway can't get in. They're literally blown away. On top of that, all the air coming in gets scrubbed by these amazing HEPA filters, meeting some of the strictest clean room standards on the planet.
But it's not just about clean air. It's about how that air moves. You've got two main ways to do it. There's horizontal flow from wall to wall, which is okay, but the gold standard, the absolute best practice, is vertical airflow. This means that ultra-clean,
HEPA-filtered air flows straight down from the ceiling, like a gentle, invisible waterfall. It washes right over the patient and the surgical team, pushing any potential contaminants down and away. It creates this invisible shield, this curtain of sterile air right where it matters the most. Okay, so the room itself is an amazing piece of technology, designed to stay clean. But what happens between surgeries? You can't just wipe it down with a cloth. This is where the active methods, the real science of disinfecting the theater, comes into play.
The old-school way was something called fumigation, and frankly, it was pretty nasty. They'd use formaldehyde gas, which is toxic, can damage expensive equipment, and is just plain bad for the staff. Thankfully, we've moved on. Today, the modern method is called fogging. A special machine turns a powerful disinfectant into this superfine mist that gets absolutely everywhere. It's way less toxic, safer for everyone, and incredibly effective.
And this isn't just a spray and pray kind of thing. It's a very precise procedure. First, they cover up any sensitive equipment. Then, they place the fogger in a corner, aiming it up at a 45-degree angle. They let it run for about 20 minutes to fill the room with that mist. And then, this is the crucial part, they completely seal the room for 2 hours. This gives that mist time to settle on every single surface. By the time they open those doors again, there is literally nowhere for a pathogen to hide. So, the fogging is done, everything looks clean, but how do you know? How can you be 100% sure? You can't just guess, you have to prove it. And this is where constant vigilance and some serious science becomes absolutely critical. Think of the hospital staff as microbial detectives. They use a few key tools to hunt for any survivors. They'll use swabs on key surfaces, the walls, the floor, the operating table. They'll use something called a settle plate, which is basically a petri dish left out to see what kind of microbes are floating around and settling out of the air. And for the most accurate reading, they use high-tech machines that actively suck in air and test it for any lingering bacteria.
And when I say the standards are strict, I mean it. For that settle plate method, the acceptable limit is less than 30 colony-forming units. That means after 20 minutes, fewer than 30 individual microbes that could start a colony are allowed to land on that plate. I mean, that is an unbelievably low number. It just shows you how incredibly pure that air has to be. Okay, so we've talked about the architecture, the high-tech air systems, the fogging, the testing. But after all of that, the Sterile Fortress has one final, critical line of defense. And honestly, it might just be the most important one of all. It's the people.
Because all that technology means nothing without ironclad human discipline. The rules are strict, and they are non-negotiable. Not just anyone can walk in. If you have any kind of infection, even a cold, you're not allowed inside. Everyone has to change into freshly laundered scrubs. Nails have to be trimmed short. Even talking is kept to a bare minimum to reduce the number of droplets in the air. Every single rule is there to protect the patient. So when you think about it, the journey from ancient fumigation to today's modular, fogged, and filtered operating theaters is just incredible. It's a constant quest for perfection. And it really makes you wonder, right? With things like robotics, brand new antimicrobial materials, and even AI on the horizon, just how much cleaner and how much safer can the surgery of the future possibly get?